Hello, shalom. Thank you for coming. I am Ben Rockwood. I'm the Director of IT and Operations at Chef Software. I've been there for about 3 years. By way of introduction, before I was there, I spent about 10 years at a company called Joyent. Has anyone ever heard of Joyent?
Joyent!
Yeah, a couple. So in a previous life, in the 90s, I was a system administrator specializing in large mid-range systems. So I didn't want to work on any computer that cost less than $1 million. I didn't have a Ferrari, but I had a really big computer. So that was good enough for me. And I became an expert in Solaris, and in particular a couple of technologies like ZFS and dtrace, and something called zones that eventually became renamed containers. And in 2005, some people came to me and said, "Hey, we want to start a grid company, and we want to create a whole new way of sort of doing things, and we're going to build it entirely based on Solaris zones. And you're the zones guy, so let's go do that." And we ended up building what eventually became called a cloud. And one of our little competitors at this stupid bookstore started up about the same time as we did, and they kind of won. But our cloud was definitely more technically brilliant, but ultimately didn't get it. So spent a bunch of years in cloud and got to work with a lot of fun companies. If you've ever worked for a hosting company, it's super interesting to see all the interesting ideas that come along. It's funny how many great ideas fail. It's also interesting how many crazy ideas succeed. In particular, I had one customer who came along. They were a good customer, but they were kind of a handful. They seemed to have a lot of problems and need a lot of help. And so we did our best to support them. But they had this crazy idea where you would go to their website and you would enter this message that was only 140 characters long. And I was like, this is cute, but I don't think it's really going to go anywhere, guys. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. And Twitter resulted. So, man, I really got that one wrong. On the plus side, I have probably the oldest Twitter account of anyone because I had to register with them so that I could hook it into our monitoring system, because if they went down, I was probably getting a call. If I had known that it would become as big as it did, I would have probably actually registered not my Unix username Ben R, but Ben, and then sold it to like Ben Affleck for like $1 million. But had no idea. When I was running the cloud, we had built a really interesting technical product, and around 2008, about 3 years into this cloud, I had built a really competent operations team. And I stepped back and asked myself, is this the best operations team in the world? I thought I had built the most sophisticated and the best operations team in the world. But of course I would think that. Like, how would I know otherwise, right? And a lot of us didn't really share at the time sort of what our processes and what it actually looked like inside of our operations teams. So I went around and I started looking and asking questions and just reading everything I possibly could get my hands on. And a short while later, I found a fellow named Patrick Dubois and John Willis and a couple of others who were also thinking about this same problem. What does good look like? How should it work? And then next thing we know, we had a conference called DevOpsDays, and I've been really sort of involved with DevOps ever since. But I've been particularly interested because of this history. I've been very interested in the sort of the management side, because as I was effectively one of, if not the best, Solaris administrators in the world. I'd written books, I had the most respected blog, I was on the Open Solaris governing board, I helped with all kinds of things of getting that launched. I was the best. I had arrived. Does anyone know me as a Solaris guy? Does anyone run Solaris? No.
Joyent.
Joyent still runs Solaris. The technology comes and goes, and it was a sad thing, but what I realized what was really important was the people, right? The people stay, the teams stay. The team is still there today. They're still working hard. And so I became sort of less impassioned by the technology and how I was going to become the best at any one thing, because a couple of years later it was going to change. And I thought Solaris could never possibly go away. Sun could never possibly go away. It was too successful, it was too big, it was too important. The world ran its business on Sun machines. And it didn't matter. It's gone. And so I got really interested and obsessed with sort of management, how we do things. And one of the things, my biggest contribution to the world of DevOps was really putting an emphasis on learning from the Japanese and learning from Lean and learning from the early days of management, because there was a number of books I noticed around 2009, 2010 we were reading, like The Goal. But nobody had really seemed to ever explore deeper than that. Where did the ideas of Goldratt's come from? What are the other ideas that were wrapped around it? People sort of said Kaizen, but what did that mean? Where did it come from? And so I spent a lot of time with that. In 2011, I gave a keynote at the LISA conference where I explored the entire history of operations management from the turn of the 20th century through to today. And it worked out. We've been talking a lot about Lean. So in this talk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of decompose management and growing teams and building teams into two different ways, because it's a really complex topic that can't possibly be handled appropriately in 40 minutes. So I'm going to decompose it in two different ways. One is from a systems point of view in terms of the overall goal, and then secondly, we're going to look at it from sort of an employee lifecycle point of view. First things first, systems thinking. Everything always begins with systems thinking. Everything is a system. You are a system. Your organization is a system. Your family is a system. Your company is a system. We log into systems. We use those systems to build larger systems. Everything, everywhere is a system. You know, in this case, I wanted to sort of emphasize in this picture, just because, you know, props to the IDF. But the other is that she is as much a part of the system as that plane is, as the hangar is. Every single thing in that picture is part of an integrated system. And we need to focus not just on the hardware. We also need to focus on the people involved in that system. They're the most resilient, the most capable, and the most important piece of that system, because that part of the system is you. So we're going to decompose this system down into 5 pieces: diversity, vision, strategy, management, and tools. Now, this applies to everyone, everywhere, all the time, because like I said, everything is a system. So, how many of you are managers or somebody reports to you in some way? Okay, cool. Anybody who isn't one of those, you are a part of that system because you're the recipient of it. So if you're leading a team, if you're managing people, I want you, as we go through these, to think about you and your teams and how they perceive it and what you can do for them. If you're not managing people, I want you to think about how you're being managed by your organization, how this impacts you, and I also want you to think about you as an individual. All these same things apply to you as an individual. Start with diversity. Diversity is a hot button topic. It's something that's really important, particularly in the United States. I imagine that it's probably uniquely important here in Israel. But what's important is that diversity doesn't happen despite our differences. It happens because of our differences. And I want to emphasize diversity in a slightly different way than it might be brought up socially or politically. I'm not actually terribly interested in diversity in terms of sexual preference or gender or nationality or religion. All those things are important, but what's even more important is thought, diversity of thought. I don't want a bunch of people from a bunch of different backgrounds in my company just because their skin colors are different or their nationalities are different. I want those people to come to my organization because of the fact that they think differently. They come from different backgrounds, they have different perspectives. That's what's important. I don't want to just go out and hire women just because it's good to hire women. I want women who think differently. I want men who think differently. I want all those different people to bring their own unique perspective to our organizations. Because innovation requires new ideas. That's what innovation is. And what I unfortunately see in a lot of companies is companies who talk about diversity and they bring in a lot of different people who look very different. Their bodies are very different, their preferences are very different. But if they all think the same, if they all went to the same sort of university or they all have the same sort of background, then so what? I have the same ideas, just from different sort of individuals. I want people who truly bring themselves, their whole selves, to bring brand new ideas, things that I wouldn't think of, right? And so we need to create environments in which radical ideas can actually flow and encourage those differences and bring them out. The thing that we want to control is not the people, but the process by which we bring all those people together. And the crazier their ideas, the better. When you think about innovation, most of the most interesting innovations started out with somebody saying, I have a crazy idea. This thing will never work. This is the dumbest thing you've ever heard, but ... And then something brilliant happened. We don't want to stamp that out. We want to encourage it. Another thing is when you think about organizations, any type of organization, whether it's a family, a country, a religious movement, a club, it doesn't matter. Diversity is what defines sort of who's invited to the party, who's allowed to participate, right? And so we want as broad a net as possible. But once we have a broad base of people involved, we then have to bring them together some way. We have to be unified. And the way that we unify is through vision, a unity of purpose and a shared identity. It doesn't matter who's actually involved so long as we have that shared vision. So we want to rally individuals to a cause, and we want to align them all to a common vision, because when we align to a single vision, we can unlock passions. And you want passionate people. You don't want people to be calm and to shut up and sit down. You want them to come out with their crazy ideas. Again, that's the innovation. We want to encourage differences. We want to encourage conflict. We want to encourage challenge. But we want to do it in a sort of controlled way. And the way that we're going to do that is by making sure we're all aligned to a single vision so that we're all pulling in the same direction towards a common goal. When it comes to vision, there are lots of books that have been written on this, and they're almost universally useless, right? Lots of flowery statements. I think what Solomon sort of got it best in Proverbs, where there is no vision, the people perish. And this is one of the reasons I have a huge affinity to the Jewish people. Talk about people with a vision, right? You've persevered through centuries when many others have come and gone. And the Jewish people are here because of a vision, right? So once we've got a bunch of people into our club and we've got a shared vision about where we want to go, we then need to focus all that energy and direct it. And we direct through strategy. We want to channel that vision into actual action. There are a lot. Has anybody ever worked for a company that had a really great vision? Like you were super stoked to work there, and then you got there and they had like no way to actually make it happen, or the strategy to get there was absolute crap, right? Right? We've all sort of been there. And it breaks our heart too, right? There's all these weird existential moments that you have where you're like, I love what they're doing, but I can't believe that they're doing it all wrong and it's gonna fail, and it breaks your heart. Strategy is super important. Eisenhower had one of the best quotes ever about strategy, which is, in preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. You need to spend a lot of time figuring out what your strategy is going to be and thinking it through as to how that might play out. The thing, though, is the plans that you produce out of your strategy probably will never work out. But you won't be prepared for what's going to come if you hadn't gone through the exercise. The exercise is still hugely important. Now, for strategy, there are a couple of great resources out there. The Business Model Canvas is a wonderful tool. It is incredibly applicable to a number of different situations. There was even a version of the Business Model Canvas that was created called, I think it was Business Model U, where it was using the Business Model Canvas to look at yourself and your own career and your own skills to see sort of where you wanted to go. So broadly applicable. And also more directly involved in strategy. Playing to Win is a book by Martin. It was really, really handy for a more business-centric sort of view of strategy. And once we've gotten through, we've got a strategy and we're moving in a direction, we now have to manage it. This is the day-to-day operations of ensuring that we're on track to meet the vision and to execute the strategy and to deal with all those changes that come up and come along. Now, in large organizations, a lot of things are going to be dictated from you down from the top. And so managers are really going to just sort of keep things on track and keep things moving according to what was dictated from on high. But in smaller organizations, you really have to be a leader. And I would say that actually in any organization, no matter how bureaucratic, you actually can still take a lead role and not just accept what's come down from above, but go through those previous steps and don't just accept what you were told. Reinterpret the vision, reinterpret the strategy, and understand how you and your team can fit into it and lead forward in your own unique way. So managers are continuously assessing and directing and changing according to circumstances. This is the day-to-day function. This is also what causes us in that hustle and bustle to forget about the vision and the strategy and to just get connected to the latest and loudest fire. And that's dangerous. We constantly need to be yanked out of that. It's one of the reasons that I'm giving this talk, is I don't think I'm probably telling anyone here anything you haven't heard before. But we all need to hear it all the time, because we forget. We build policy and process to reduce friction, right? Sometimes I think people get way too scared about process and policy. All process is how you do that shit. All policy is a pre-computed decision. What do we do about this if such and such occurs? I don't know. Let's think about it ahead of time, write it down as a policy, and then when it happens, we'll know what to do without having to think it through in the heat of the moment. When it comes to management, there are lots of great books. My favorites are The Fifth Discipline by Senge, The New Economics by Deming, Recreating the Corporation by Ackoff, which if you want to read a hardcore one, read Ackoff, he's the best. And classic was the book Management by Drucker. And then below management, we get into tools. There are lots of individual sort of problems that we have on a day-to-day basis, and there are a lot of tools out there to help us with this. So just like in technology, we have lots of software and lots of scripts and stuff that can help us get done. In management, we have lots of tools and frameworks that can help us solve for specific sorts of problems and help avoid us falling into common pitfalls. With continuous improvement, we have the whole corpus of lean. We have Kaizen, we have going to the Gemba. We have all these great ideas that are out there from Ono and others. In problem solving, a tool that I use all the time is called A3. Has anyone heard of A3? Okay, so I don't have to ask anyone's using it. A3 is one of the most powerful tools available. I use it constantly in my teams. I gave a talk at Seattle DevOps Days last year, I think, on using A3. It's really powerful. Long story short, it's essentially a way of taking the scientific method and bringing it to business and using it as a way to sort of control flow. So anytime you don't know how to solve a problem or you're not sure if you found the right way to solve a problem, A3 can actually help guide you through the process to come up with the best possible solution. It's integral to the way that Toyota implements Kaizen. So it's the real power behind Kaizen. So if you've always thought that this continuous improvement was this weird kind of fluffy idea that didn't seem to have any real meat to it, look at A3. That's the meat of how you actually implement Kaizen. Operations, we have lots of frameworks, some good, some bad. All of them have wisdom that we can take from them. ITIL and COBIT are two big ones, and they are big and they are scary. But one thing I would say, I've always been a huge fan of ITIL. If you're not a fan of ITIL or you think that it's this horribly bureaucratic nonsense, step back and actually find the books. If you can find the books somewhere, ITIL is actually a series of 5 books. Read the actual books. They're really, really good. It is the IT infrastructure library. There's all kinds of things in there. Some of it's great, some of it's not. But don't dismiss it out of hand. It's very helpful. Kanban, Scrum, and generally systems thinking, design thinking, complexity theory. There's lots of ideas out there, and there are lots of tools that we can apply. But again, the sort of 5 components here: diversity, vision, strategy, management, and tools. And I want to be really clear. We talk a lot in DevOps about culture. What is it? What is culture? We say it like it's just the one bullet point on a slide. Do culture. Easy. I would say that it's these 5 things from which your culture comes. These are the ingredients of your culture, right? In any culture, what is the way that we do things? What are the ways that we think? What brings us together? Who are we? Who's a part of our group? All these things combine to create culture. This is how we decompose culture and really think about culture. And when you get into this, you'll definitely have things like, we believe in continuous integration. We believe in security. We believe in QA. Those are all things that are going to fall into management and tools and how we actually implement things and become a part of your culture. But your culture is all these things together, and when they add up, okay? And again, this applies to teams, right? Okay, I work for a bank, for instance. If I work for a bank and I have a team of 5 individuals, I can go through all these steps and I can have a unique culture in that team. I mean, let's all remember, DevOps started from the grassroots, right? Those of us, especially early on, we did this because nobody in our senior management or executive management teams was thinking about it or cared. Their concerns for diversity, vision, and strategy all were focused on sort of what the company was going to do. They could give a shit what's going on in operations, right? And to be fair, rightly so, they've got bigger concerns, right? Like making sure the company is profitable. So we had to do all these exercises in the operations team to see what is our, what are our values? Who do we bring into our organization? Who do we want? Why do we want them? What is the vision? How are we going to execute it? Which is a subset of the overall organization. This is also true for your family. This is also true for you as an individual, okay? Now I'm going to decompose it in a slightly different way. And we're going to look at the employee lifecycle. As a systems thinker, I love life cycles. I love life cycles because everything happens in a life cycle. It begins, it grows, it sort of tapers off, and then it dies. Everything. Whether it's a laptop or you, it has a life cycle. Now, this is a model that I kind of borrowed from the social workplace. It was a really good model because it has some additional elements we don't often think about. And so because this is a little hard to read, I'm going to sort of decompose it into a couple of different sort of functions. So this is time, and we have a couple of processes: attraction, recruitment, onboarding, development, retention, and separation. You should be thinking about all these from the beginning, right? We want to attract people to our organization. We want to recruit them in and hire them. We want to onboard them, make them successful. We want to grow them and develop them. Then we want to hold on to them because we just invested a lot of time, energy, and money into these people. And at some point, they're going to leave. And so we need to be thinking about separation, one thing that people really don't spend enough time thinking about. From a managerial's duty standpoint, what do we need to be thinking about as managers? In the beginning, we need to be thinking about hiring. How are we going to hire? Who are we going to hire? We're going to go to DevOpsDays Tel Aviv and hire some people. We're going to go somewhere else. We're going to look on LinkedIn. Where are we going to go? Once they come in as managers, we now need to be thinking about how do we inspire these people to get the most out of them, to make them successful, to make them happy, to get them contributing. There's a lot of things that are going to fall out of that, but we're going to be inspiring the people. Now, here's something about most of you wish that your managers would do. Is once you've got on board and you've been developed, you're up to speed, and you're into the organization, the managers need to be admiring you. This is a fundamental need we all have, is, are we doing a good job? Do they want us here? Do they need us here? Should I stay here? Right? We deeply, desperately need to be admired in our work. This is something that as managers we have to be thinking about, or you will pay the consequences, and most do. And at some point we need to be, as managers, thinking about retiring people for a variety of different reasons. The engagement curve. When we bring somebody in, they're excited, I can't believe I'm so glad to be here, it's awesome, very high engagement. As we get through here, generally based on whether or not you're admired, your engagement is going to go up and down. Life is going to happen, things are going to happen. You're going to get interested in things, get bored with things, like people, not like people. You get a very variable low engagement, and then we're going to have a very low engagement towards the end. Generally, when we see engagement drop and your heart's just not in it, that's what we tend to say, That's when we need to be moving into retirement, preparing people to leave the organization. Now, what's going to motivate the employee through each of these phases? To tie it back to our earlier discussion. Early on, a lot of it's going to be vision, right? You join a company because they're going to do something amazing and you want to be a part of it, right? Generally, that's why you come along. Once you sort of get them through recruiting and hiring, our concerns become a lot more practical. Strategy. What do I need to actually do? Why am I here? What am I actually going to do? How do I actually fulfill it? And then generally there's a swing back after people have onboarded, when they've kind of gotten over the first generally 6 to 8 weeks, and you start to kind of ease into the role, you'll generally sort of relax a little bit and then stop and say, okay, wait a second, the vision. Why am I here? What am I doing? Are we really in alignment? And that vision is what's really going to engage them, whether or not you're true to that vision. And then we come into the long phase of personal development. We need to be personally developing our people. If you're not a manager, your manager should be helping you develop. Your organization should be providing opportunities to coach you, to teach you, to grow you. And if they're not, you're being cheated. And then finally, towards the end here, the thing that's going to sort of, the motivation that's sort of in most of our minds when we get towards separation and retirement tends to be opportunity. I'm either going up or I'm going out. If you're not providing opportunities for people to get a promotion or move into new roles and new duties and to expand themselves, they will leave. And most people don't want to leave. Leaving's hard and difficult. So opportunity is a real strong motivator for all of us. And as managers, we need to be thinking about, are we providing the opportunity to retain our people? Because if we're not, they're out of there, and we need to be anticipating that. And so some managerial sort of focuses that we need to have. Early on, we need to be thinking a lot when we go to hire people about what are the positions available and where we're going to pay people. Here's one thing I will say about pay. When it comes to compensation, you are not buying somebody's work. You're not a machine. I am not buying your output. I am compensating you for your time and your attention. What you output during that time will vary, generally based on personal development and admiration. The other thing is, I always say, people want to say, people aren't motivated by money. No, you're not motivated by money. Fundamentally, most of us are not motivated by money. Our wives are, our spouses are, they care a lot, right? That's another thing that's really important to point out. Almost every time I have ever given somebody a pay raise, no matter how big it is, they're always like, okay, yeah, thanks. That's it. I'm like, dude, you were supposed to jump up and down and hug me and give me a kiss because you were so excited. Then I just gave you this great increase. And they're just like, oh, that's okay, it's fine, right? What do? They go home to their spouse. They're like, I got a raise because I'm awesome. It's really important. You need to be thinking about it at the beginning. That also means that you need to be thinking, if you're managers that are hiring, you need to be thinking not just about what you're going to pay people when they come in the door to attract them in the door. You need to be thinking about what you're going to pay them in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Be thinking about their growth. Otherwise, you're going to go real close to retirement and low engagement way too early because they lack opportunity. Culture. As managers, you really got to be thinking about culture when it comes to onboarding, because the time to put culture in place and embed it into a person's mind is as they onboard. Once they're on board, there's not a lot of change that's going to happen. They're going to be evaluating, each of us do, evaluate our organizations based on this is what you said, this is what I thought you were going to do, and you don't do any of that shit. What's wrong with you? So culture is really important to managerially to be thinking about, not later, but as you onboard people, as you get them in the door, and putting all the sort of values and stuff into them. As we develop people as managers, we've got to be thinking about learning and challenges. Are we going to develop them? Are we going to give them opportunities and challenge them, give them new problems, right? Everyone likes to be pushed. We also need safety in that you have the opportunity to fail and continue to grow. Otherwise, you get discouraged. Like I said, as we come later into sort of around the 1 year mark, 1.5 year mark, you got to be thinking about organization and promotion. right? Do we have a place to move these people? If not, we need to start thinking about separation early, right? If I can't promote you, you're probably going to want to go, and so I should be thinking about that early on. And when it comes to separation, managerially, we got to be super concerned about knowledge transfer, right? This is one of the reasons that organizationally we have to think, as managers, we need to be thinking about separation very early in the process. You've got an individual who has a lot of skills, a lot of experience, and it's going to walk out the door with them, right? If you think about it, if you want to be really cold about this, most of us as organizations, we invest a lot of time, energy, and money into individuals. They learn a bunch of things, they add a lot of capability to the organization, and then when they leave, you all just take it with you, right? We're all essentially thieves. Because what do we take to our future employer? When we go back to the beginning of the cycle, we walk in with all the knowledge we acquired from the previous employer. That's the biggest form of compensation. So you see that there's a couple of interesting cycles that we have here. We need to be thinking as managers about whether or not we're providing for these things, if we're thinking about it holistically, from beginning to end, from the very beginning. Furthermore, if you're an employee, is your organization providing you these things? Is your manager even remotely competent? Are they taking care of you? Do they care about you? Or are you just a cog in the wheel? You might want to ask them. Now, here's the other thing. Let's also remember, everything is a system. From the individual's point of view, this is what their life looks like, right? A long continuum of these cycles, over and over and over. Some shorter, some longer. The average tenure of an employee right now is between 2 and 3 years, right? You got to take that into account from the beginning, because you are just, wherever you are right now, right? It's great, but there's going to be another place. So one thing I tell everyone who works for me is, I tell them lots of things, but you're going to leave, right? Which is weird. They're all working for me right now. I'm like, you're going to leave me. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in a year, maybe in 10 years. But you're going to leave. Be thinking about what you can take. Exploit the opportunity you have now to learn and to grow. So I would say to any of you, particularly any of you who are currently in a role where you're bored, and you don't like the place, and you really kind of want to leave, be thinking about how you can exploit the role to get the most out of it. Use those challenges in order to sort of grow and move on. So, an assessment for your team, for you, take a step back, look at the big picture, question yourself and your alignment to the vision and the strategy, whether that's your family's vision and strategy, whether that's your personal vision and strategy, or your organization's vision and strategy. Be realistic. Keep it simple, always keep it simple. Embrace failure quickly, which means just own up to it, figure out what you're going to do, and move on, right? Don't hold on to it, don't try to fix it. And when it comes to embracing failure, also work through the problem, right? When your servers go down at work, you don't quit. You think about it for like a second. You're like, screw it, I'm done. And then you shake it off and you fix it, right? Do the same to yourself and to sort of your long-term path. And continuously learn and improve. So, thank you.